What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 314. This is a rare occurrence, Deej. We're episode 314, recording on 314.
Pi Day, baby.
Pi Day. It's also a very famous Urban Dictionary Day. Do you know what today also is? It's probably Stephen McAvoy's favorite thing to bring up to me. 3/14. It's a month after Valentine's Day. I want you to pull up your phone and Google today's date Urban Dictionary. And if it doesn't come up, let me know because I will send you what it is because I have the screenshot.
I'd see if I can get involved in that action. I'm down.
Happy holidays to everyone.
all who celebrate, happy holidays.
Cheers to you. But yeah, rare occurrence that we're recording on the date that is the episode number. But it is episode number 314 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, official lacrosse pod on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you. We got some fun stuff on today's episode from the NLL. The trade deadline is come and gone. The PLL Free Agency period continues pushing forward. The Japan jerseys have dropped. And we'll have college recap and college pick'em with Portal Jones. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Don't be alarmed because we did switch over our profile pictures and the podcast cover art last week. Hopefully you guys like the new aesthetic. It's not that big of a change. We just added a little volume, a little texture to it. But yeah, don't be alarmed. It is the same podcast because if you're subscribed, it would just the cover art just changed. We're doing that for all of our podcasts, a little slow rollout to just make everything a little more linear so everyone knows that that is an official Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast. But follow us on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/OTBLaxPod. We made the Facebook page for the Facebook heads out there, and it's been growing pretty well, Deej. It's been growing pretty well. We have almost 100 followers on the Facebook page in less than a week rollout, which is pretty dope. But we're going to be everything from our Instagram will now get simultaneously posted onto the Facebook page. We're going to post the episodes on there as well, and hopefully get a bit of a new audience in the mix with us. So go follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/OTBLaxPod.
I'll be on Facebook.
Deej do be on Facebook.
I just be looking at stuff. People are funny on Facebook. I could never get rid of Facebook for that reason right there. and I got to keep my older peeps updated.
Facts.
I know a couple of them are tuned into the pod now.
So yeah, follow all the socials. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_next great. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does go a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find OTB and Underground Sports Philadelphia as a whole. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews, though, because we do have some haters on the audio platforms. But they say you ain't made it until you got haters. And I guess we've made it. So keep leaving the 5-star reviews, boost our numbies up a little bit on the audio side of things. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week. You get live streams, full video episodes of every show on our network, shorts, clips, original video content. It is all on the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And subscribe to the Outside the Box YouTube channel. That is live. We have all of the interviews out from Champ Series from OTB Radio are now live on that channel. We said it last week. Do not, and we repeat, do not unsubscribe from Underground Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. That is where OTB video episodes will live until further notice. OTB YouTube channel will be interviews, stuff like OTB Radio, shorts, clips that we just double up on, and probably vlog content that Deej and I do when we're out on the road this summer. We'll go on that YouTube channel. It's all OTB specific content outside of the podcast. Podcast lives on main channel. Outside podcast video content will also go on the OTB YouTube channel, but it's youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. We didn't even publicize, Deej, the videos going out outside of saying that we were going to probably do it on last week's pod, and pretty good numbies on the views for channel only having 12 subscribers, and people love the breakdown with me and Rosie at the end of Champ Series. Our interview with BC about the app is on there. Myself and Andy Copeland with Cope's last interview as head coach and GM of the Water Dogs. Piper Bond interview is on there. Danny Passavoy interview is on there. That got a lot of love. And then, of course, our first one with the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Rabel, myself, and Deej was on that one as well for a period of time. So go check that out, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod and youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And get your merch at phiapparel.co. That is the place to get your official Outside the Box podcast merch, Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch for all of our franchises. And, of course, if you're a Philly sports fan, you can gear up with Underground Sports Philadelphia's official merch partner, PHI Apparel Company. You want to stand out in the crowd, go to phiapparel.co and use our code Underground for 10% off your order. Most effective and direct way to support everything we're doing here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. So go get your merch, phiapparel.co, code Underground for 10% off your order. Coach Deej is back in the building. What's poppin'?
Dude, I'm hyped for this season. We've at this point, by the time you guys are listening to this, it'll have 4 practices in. At the time of recording, we're 3 in, but it's been 3 great practices so far. Guys are coming with energy. They're working hard. The work we put in during the off season is starting to show. So I'm excited for where we're progressing. We're going to win probably more games than our program has ever won in one season, and have a chance to have our first positive season, winning season in program history. So we're looking to do a lot this year, and I'm excited with what we've gotten so far. And I'm really coming together in this coaching thing, really starting to add discipline to things and be able to point out certain things to guys, and just I look and sound more like a coach than I did my first couple of years.
Popping off. Speaking of, we've got NLL popping off. Our Week 15 recap that will include the trade deadline. That was somewhat rumbling, a little interesting. But Week 15 went a little something like this. Deej, Albany top Vancouver 13-8. Redacted in overtime. Top your Roughnecks 13-12. Buffalo in overtime. Top Saskatchewan. What a great last-second switch for me in the pickle. Kudos to me and my brain. 15-14, arguably going to go down as one of the games, if not the game of the year in the regular season, because that game was amazing. Toronto tops Colorado 12-7. Rochester absolutely blitzes Albany, which we should have seen coming. We should have seen coming in an immediate back-to-back. Albany kind of being a little sluggish. But Rochester pops off 18-12 and beats Albany. New York hangs on to beat Vegas 13-11. San Diego gets the job done at home against Halifax 12-8. And then in overtime, Panther City tops Philadelphia 9-8. For from the game's perspective, Deej, what stood out to you the most from Week 15?
Friday night when I was watching that game, and I think you know what game I'm talking about. All I could think was, I can't believe I allowed you to talk me out of picking.
That is 10:54.
Because I was going to do it, and you talked me right out of it. And as I was watching the game, I was like, why did I let him do that? I had the feeling going in that he was going to pull it out, and I let you just weasel me out of that. So that was not a fun game to watch times 2, because not only did Calgary lose, but I also could have gotten the pick right like I should have, and I let you influence me. So I will start thinking for myself from this point forward, since you obviously don't have my best interests at heart.
Oh, I certainly do.
I'm going to look out for myself. I think you
if I didn't have your best interest at heart, I would have gone against my own beliefs and picked redacted to counteract you going with your team. I fully thought Calgary was going to win that game.
But that's part of your strategy, is to make me believe this was
no
thing. You knew you are trying to crawl your way back into this, and
I am so far back. I don't even know if there's enough weeks left in the season for me to
trying to sabotage my lead. And so now I'm just going to think for myself and do this for me, because that's the important thing here. Is
I fully believe that
I need to retain my crown,
and they should have won that game.
Yeah, I agree, but I digress at the same time. We'll focus on this week. That's over. Let's go 1-0 this week, right? But the Rochester Albany game was also fantastic to me. But I did not expect Rochester to come out firing the way they did. A little bit of time they had off, plus kind of the losing streak they've been on. But they came out ready to go, and
their offense is ridiculous. Their big three is crazy.
They look really good.
I saw somebody post about it. It might have been Neil on Twitter. Connor Fields has to be in the MVP conversation this year. Like, he is. We thought he was phenomenal last year when everyone was saying he should have been in the MVP conversation. He arguably is having a better year this year.
Okay, let me look at something real quick, because yes, he is having a very good season. I want to check this real quick. Oh, that's not. No, that's not what I want. Give me just a second. Okay, never mind. I'm going to do mental maths here. Oh. He's tied for 4th in goals.
With how many?
35.
He had 52 goals last year.
He's at 50 assists already on the year.
He had 60 last year.
And he's got 85 points. So he's 5th in assists and 3rd in points. Well, 2nd in points behind Teat and Byrne, who are tied for 1st at 87.
So he's a little more than 30 points off of tying what he did all of last year in 17 games played.
Checking something real quick. Oh, they don't have this up for this year yet. Darn. I was trying to see how many loose balls he had.
I'll try and pull it up.
He's got 164 shots on goal, though.
Which last year...
He's not in the top 5 for turnovers, so that is also a plus.
Here we go. Connor Fields, 2024. He's got the same number of power play goals as he had last year already this year. He's played in 11 games in 2024 and is easily on pace to beat his goals that he scored last year. He scored 52 last year. He's got 35 this year. He's totally going to shatter his assists from last year. He's 10 off of tying what he did last year in 17 games. He had 142 loose balls last year. He's got 95 this year. He's taken 164 shots. He took 206 last year. He had 70 turnovers last year. He's got 36 this year. He had 3 caused turnovers last year. He's got 6 this year. He's got to be in the MVP conversation. Dude is balling.
Who else is in it?
Let's see. I mean, Teat will be in it. Josh Byrne will be in it.
Josh Byrne's got 32 or 35 goals as well. He's got 52 assists.
2 more assists than Fields. Jeff Teat's got 13 games played, so he's played in 2 more games than Connor Fields, and he's got 39 goals, 48 assists.
I think he's going to get washed out because he's kind of played more games already. So his stats aren't like necessarily lining up with Byrne and Fields. It's probably going to be between those two.
And sneaky.
Are we going to throw a goalie in there?
Well, just another offensive player. I think if he continues on the pace that he's on right now, he could also be in the mix. And also, we all know how sports work. Depends on your team's final positioning most of the time when it comes to MVP. Wes Berg is having an unreal year for San Diego.
Yeah, but
like he's right there through 13 games. He's got 30 goals, 49 assists.
I think he's going to end up getting bumped out for Nick Rose.
I agree. I think Bergie could be a finalist, though.
How many finalists do they do, though? Isn't it only 3?
It's either 3 or 4.
If it's 4, he might slide in there. If it's 3, I don't think he gets in. I think it'll end up being Connor, Josh, and Nick. Nick's got 11 wins. He's played basically every second of their games, and he's got 503 saves. He's first in wins, second in saves behind Dobson. But Dobson's only got 8 wins on the year. They're not winning enough down and for him to jump over Rosie.
That's 1844. Yeah, I agree.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, though, is kind of a couple of guys who are progressing over the next couple of weeks and how their gameplay lines up, their stats, along with their team success, and kind of finalizing that picture over the next couple of weeks, really.
And I mean, goalie of the year, I think it's a 2-dog race in terms of like overall, and you can kind of throw in whoever you want your third player to be. It'll probably be Origlieri as the third, but Dougie Jameson's having an unreal year for Albany.
He's having a good year, but he's going to need some help.
Yeah.
He's going to need Toronto to lose a couple games. And not necessarily lose a couple games. He's going to need Nick Rose to have a bad game. So he needs
I'll say this too.
He needs a prayer from God because Nick Rose doesn't have bad games.
Nick Rose is 11-2 on the year, and not that wins losses is the end all be all whatsoever. But it is interesting that Albany's what this year? They are
10-3, right? But he's
3. Doug Jameson's 10-0. So the games they've lost, he hasn't gotten the win-loss.
Yeah, I don't think that's as big of a deal.
No, I agree. But it is interesting watching like Albany's decision-making when it comes to who's playing and who's not. Because I was talking to Adam Levy when we were in the press box on Sunday, and it's like, you see how Doug Jameson's playing. Why would you not at least start him against Rochester, because that game could have been completely different. You know, their backup, I'm blanking on who their backup is, but he gives up 7 goals early on. I don't think Doug Jameson's doing that, even on a back-to-back. But it is interesting that 10 wins, 10-0 with Dougie Jameson there, 0-3 without him.
Yeah, that's something they might want to keep an eye on in terms of free agency and, you know, projecting their team for the next couple of years and, you know, continuing their momentum they've gotten over the last, I don't know, 6 months, because we can't say anything like this was popping last year. There are some, you know, circumstances to that, but they've gotten a lot of momentum over the last 6 months, so they kind of want to keep that pushing, and he's a big part of that. But I think he like I said, he's going to need Nick Rose to have a bad game, and honestly, I think he doesn't need Toronto to lose a game. I think he's got to be even or better in the win category, because as much as like wins don't matter, as a goalie, you only get the win if you're doing your job. So the more wins you have, the better you are. So it matters, but it doesn't at the same time. So that's kind of just something he wants to at least tie or be ahead of to give himself an extra boost.
Yeah. The other thing that stood out to me game-wise, I mentioned it obviously, was Buffalo Saskatchewan was an instant classic. Feed that game to everybody every day of the week and twice on Sunday, because good grief, the highlight reel goals, the energy, Connor Farrell was unreal. And you get overtime in Banditland, and it was just an electric game.
Yeah, I mean,
from start to finish.
From the parts that I got to watch, it was a fantastic game. I enjoyed the energy inside, and you know, 16,000 people in there, the music, the cheering, the vibe, the play on the floor, the announcing was real. Like everything was what we need from a growing sport in terms of a broadcast and how it needs to look and sound. It was there. That's a game that's going to get people excited to be interested in lacrosse, or to get them to want to watch another game to see kind of if it's always like that. I really enjoyed that game. But also the Toronto Colorado game was weak. It was weak.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened to Toronto offensively, but they like couldn't get anything going for a very large majority of this game. Like I'm thoroughly surprised they scored 12 points. Because I just didn't think they had 12 goals in them. They weren't moving the ball as well. Their body movement wasn't as good. They weren't taking the best shot. They kind of were just
until the very end. That's when like they scored 5 of their 12, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And like the latter half of the fourth quarter. It was weird. So they got out of there with the win like expected.
Yeah, they scored 5 goals in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they got out of there with the win like expected, but it was not pretty at all. Very, very ugly, actually.
Yeah, because they scored. They won the first quarter 4-0, and they won the fourth quarter 5-0. But they scored 3 goals in between those.
Yeah,
which is kind of what Toronto has done all year. Is they beat you early and then they beat you late, but those middle parts are where your team has to dig deep and try to like take advantage of their lulls, and only 2 times that has happened.
I wouldn't even call it lulls. It's kind of like, it seems more like their strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, let's expound some energy in the first quarter, get them down in their dumps, let's have a lead, and then we can kind of slow it down and be a little more methodical in the second and third quarter because we have this lead that we've padded a little bit, and then we come out and close it in the fourth. I don't mind that game plan if you have the team to do it, and Toronto does. So it kind of seems more like purposely done and game plan wise than they're kind of just like not, because you see teams who aren't able to get it done during certain parts of the game.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the college game, like Michigan's a great example of that. Their first halves are awful. They're awful. And then they play really good second half. So if you don't come out, like you come out firing against Michigan, you might just win the game. Harvard's a key example of that. They came out, put up big points in the first half, and Michigan just couldn't do enough in the second half and ended up losing by 2 or 3. But if you let Michigan hang around, they're down 1 goal, 2 goals, or you let them have the lead going into the half, you're not going to win that game because they're going to come out and put, their foot on the pedal like they always do, and then it's over. So you see teams that can't play during certain parts of the game. I don't think that's what this is with Toronto. I think it's more of a philosophy thing throughout the team game plan.
And circling back to Buffalo real quick, on top of that, there's no better play-by-play for a home broadcast. Obviously, you have our national guys who we love dearly with Teddy Jenner, Pat Gregoire, Jake Elliott, and the rest of the crew, Brad Challoner. But John Gertler is unbelievable. You hear his voice, you're watching a Bandits game. And I love that from being somebody that's a play-by-play announcer, and I'm sure you feel the same way too. When you tune into a Bandits game and you hear John Gertler's voice, it is you're locked in. He adds such a layer of energy and just substance to the broadcast that makes it feel that much more elevated of a product, and he is just simply the best. We are going to work to get him on the show. He follows us. He retweets anything that we post, especially Bandits related, but he's retweeted the pod a bunch of times. So I know he's definitely checking in from time to time. So shout out to John Gertler, one of the best in all of sports in terms of play-by-play broadcasting.
I love his.
He's awesome.
And the day
score.
It's so high. He's no Mike Breen, but he's just good enough for me.
He's like lacrosse Mike Breen,
literally
for Buffalo.
But for
Buffalo Breen. His score call is just it fills me with so much excitement.
It's like a deeper. It's like taking a soccer goal call and mixing it with a deep hockey goal call, and it's just a perfect fuse of those, which is it fits lacrosse very well. It fits box lacrosse very, very well,
and he's just perfect for Buffalo. Absolutely love John Gertler. Obviously, I was at the Wings Panther City game. Great to catch up with Adam Levy. He's been at a bunch of Wings games this year now that he's back on the East Coast. We were chatting. He gave us an idea that we could do for the off-season, Deej, that I think would be very fun, that we've never done on this show for some reason. Doing redrafts of past NLL and PLL drafts.
Okay.
I think that would be a ton. And it's funny because when I was at Champ Series, Chase, PLL Pipeline, and we were looking at the 2020 draft because it was so shortened and just seeing who survived.
Yeah.
And it's only 4 guys that are still making a name for themselves in the league. But I think it would be very fun if we chopped it up and looked at some of the drafts of pod existence even. And it's all right, who would go 1 overall now?
So now it's do we have to agree? And
I think we can do our own.
I say that was my are we agree? Because it's one thing to do it separately and have our own list, but it might be a true real spin-off content thing on the side that we could do if we have to sit here and debate back and forth and agree.
Or if we come to pod with our lists,
we have to chisel it down.
And no, we go, here's my 2019 PLL draft. Here's my 2018 NLL redraft. And we go through and then we see if we're
aligned. We're not going to be aligned.
I think we'd be more aligned than you think.
No.
I think we would.
We talk about the game so differently.
Right. But when it comes to knowing what we know now, I think we'd be more aligned than you think.
Maybe.
And it would also be funny to see how different our brains go.
We are, yeah, because that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be me doing a whole lot of, what? No, that guy doesn't go there. He goes here. You're going to be
no. And I think we have to utilize it with who was drafted.
Okay.
And like, I think the only caveats would be like the known like UDFAs. Like when you look at 2019, I think you have to throw Ryder Garnsey into that draft.
Yeah.
Because there's also a list.
I think there's a solid. I think there's a couple solid UDFAs in every.
Yeah, like you can include UDFAs because they were like part of that year's like discussion.
Yeah, I think there's a couple solid ones in every year, at least PLL wise.
I think 2020 would just be the most difficult one.
Were there even any UDFA?
Well, no, we would just have to go back and look.
I'm saying good ones
and really line up like where some of these guys should. Well, we know the top 4.
I'm just saying the draft didn't go well. So
we know 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do I really think the UDFAs went well? No, I don't.
We know who'd go 1 through 4. Then it's a matter of picking 5 through whatever the final number.
that one's going to be so different.
Yeah,
that one between us is going to be so different because it's going to come down to like niche things.
Well, I already know you're putting Matt DeLuca number 1.
Wait, who had the one that year? Was it Chaos?
Archers? They took Grant because that was the draft pick game year.
Oh yeah. DeLuca's going 1
because the 4 remaining that are still in the league, it's Grant, Costabile, Reese Eddy, and Matt DeLuca.
Yeah, DeLuca goes first so that they can get rid of whoever they had in net at the time.
Well, Gitz and Drew Adams.
Well, you see they got rid of those 2 and where'd they end up?
Well, Drew retired.
You see they got rid of those 2 and where'd they end up?
They didn't get rid of him.
It don't matter how
he chose to walk away.
You see those 2 are not there anymore, and where did they end up?
Gitz was still good then, and he's still not bad now.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I never called the man bad. I never said he wasn't a good goalie. I just said they moved on from those 2, and where did the Archers end up?
Drafting Brett Dobson and winning a title.
I would have just moved on a little bit earlier and drafted someone else and won a title. That's all I'm saying.
This guy.
But no, I probably still would have done Grant. And then who had the 2 that year? Atlas?
It was Costabile.
Yeah. And then the 3 was...
Well, we also got to remember Jeff Teat was in that draft.
I know. Who was the 3 that year? Was it Chaos?
I will pull it up right now real quick before we talk about the NLL Trade Deadline. $2020. It was Water Dogs.
They had the 3rd?
Yeah. Because they like inserted them there as the expansion team.
They didn't take DeLuca 3, did they?
No, they took Michael Krause and then he played MLL.
I forgot about Krause. He low-key was gross at Ginya.
Here was the entire draft for 2020. It was Grant, Costabile, Michael Krause. Chrome took Tom Rigney. He played MLL. Matt Gaudette went 5 to Chaos, and then he was traded to Chrome.
And then
Redwoods took Peyton Smith. Whipsnakes took Sean New. And then second round, Water Dogs took DeLuca. Chrome took Reese Eddy. Atlas took Aiden Hines. Archers took Jack Rapine. Chaos took Jeff Teat.
I think it's
Rapine. Sure. Sorry to this man's. Chaos took Jeff Teat. Redwoods took Chris Price. And Whipsnakes took Matt Hubler. The fun part with 2020, though, we could also do a repicking of the entry draft from the MLL.
Okay. I like that.
So we have 14 picks from that as well, that I think maybe a couple guys would be a little different with where they were picked, but not too much. And it might be a little different. There's some switches that probably happen. But yeah. Shout out Adam Levy. He's going to be coming on the show soon.
I like that idea.
The NLL Trade Deadline also happened, but before Trade Deadline too, I was at the Wings game, obviously. They lose 9-8 in overtime. There's no excuse for that offense to only be scoring 8 goals in a game. They are too talented. They are too skilled. And the defense and Zach Higgins were unbelievable. That when you hold a team to 8 goals in regulation, 95 to 99% of the time you should win that game, especially with the offensive talent that the Wings have. And I never want somebody to lose their job. That is not the business I am in. But man, at the end of the season, because I'm sure that's when evaluation and everything would happen, because that's how Paul Day operates, he's got to look at this offense and say, we have brought in some of the top players in the NLL to be on this team. What is not working? And to me, it's the offensive system that is in place with Jeff McComb. And I said it at the end of last year. I've said it a bunch this year. Maybe there's a reason Saskatchewan got rid of him. And I think Jeff McComb is a legendary coach. Did a lot of things in Saskatchewan. Won 3 out of 4 championships. But sometimes the league catches up to you. And the old dog hasn't learned a lot of new tricks. Jeff McComb has been here for a full season and then this entire year, obviously. And I'm going to pull this up, actually, because I'm intrigued to see how this is kind of added up. Because, Deej, in your humble opinion, NLL-wise, with the offensive talent that the Wings have, what should their goals scored average be, in your humble opinion?
I don't know if I can put a number and like average on it. I'm gonna attack this the same way I look at basketball. Being here in Michigan, I'll point out this right now, the second worst team in the NBA, which glad we're not the worst, the Detroit Pistons. They have talent. They have guys who can score and defend and do everything they're supposed to do. But Coach Monty Williams is not putting the right 5 people on the floor at times. Like that is your job in the NBA as a coach. Put the right 5 people on the floor, call timeouts and manage the game, and yell at referees to make calls. That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't really have to do a bunch of player development and all that kind of stuff. A little more player development and like skill stuff added to the NLL, but it's pretty much the same thing. You have to make sure you're putting out the right 5 offensively, defensively, etc., to where you are going to be the most successful. Right now, it doesn't seem like the Wings are putting out the right groups of 5 on the offensive end. The defensive end seems to be doing okay and is setting Higgins up for shots he can see and save, and they're keeping the games low scoring. But the offense is having trouble moving the ball, having trouble getting open shots that are quality. It's as if they run into each other a lot and they aren't on the same page. It's almost as if I like the way Chaos come at it in the pro game. They split the field half and half, and now, especially adding Jules to this offense, what I see happening a lot is 2 righties, 2 lefties running a twins type set on the side, and then you got Minnie down low, and you got Jules up top. So you got somebody who can go both ways, top and bottom, and then you have your left and your right. It's basically the same thing in box. You put somebody top, or you see it a lot with the Riptide. They put Larson Sundown down low. But then you look, they have right, they have left. So you have four, you have two, that makes four. Your fifth is behind the net. You're neutralized now on each side. You have the space to move, you have the space to create and get what you want. It seems like the wings are cluttered, and there's no real separation of sides or skill, or hey, we want to draw up this play for this guy, and then we're going to move these guys over here to put them in shooting spots that are advantageous for them. It's kind of just, hey, go out there, move around, and see if we can get a shot. That's what it looks like from the far side, because it looks as if they're still running that system that Macomb installed in Saskatchewan years ago, which everybody has been using since then because it worked. So now that everybody has started to use that, everybody is defending that every day in practice, which means it's not going to be as effective anymore. You got to find something new. You got to mix it up. And a lot of that starts with just going back to the basics and saying, hey, set screens, move around, but we're going to have our shooter sit here. We're going to put a right and left, or we're going to put two lefties on this side. So you always have your highest angle at shooting. We're going to put you two over here. You're going to work in exchange. You have to set your players up based off of their skills. You see Buffalo and San Diego do a great job of this with Chris Kluche and Wes Berg. They run them off of screens to get them shooting hands. If that's not there, they give it off and they get in the middle, hoping for a rebound to put it back. That's it. That's their job. That's their role. That's what they do. Their coaches saw their skill set, what they're best at, and put them in a space to be advantageous. That's your job as a coach or a coordinator, and it seems like that's not happening offensively for the Wings right now.
And I'll say this too, Mitch Jones easily had his worst game in a Wings uniform on Sunday. I don't know what. It was so weird, dude. Like, we were tracking some of the stats, Adam and I, in the press box. Mitch had more off-target shots than he had on-target shots. That is anomaly for Mitch Jones. He had 1 point in the game. Like, that is such a rarity. But in a game like that, where you see your top guy is down, you need more guys to step up. And that just didn't happen. I'm going to give you this stat here, Teach. So I just added up all the Wings goals that they've scored this year. Wins and loss. They're averaging 10.9 goals a game. 10.9 goals a game with Mitch Jones, Joe Resiteritz, Ben McIntosh, Holden Katoni, Blaze Reardon, Tate Katoni. For the first 11 games, you had first-round pick Taggart Clark, who you just traded, which we'll get to. But it's not like you don't have dudes on this offense, along with some of your transition guys. Scott Dominy, you have guys that can score, and you're averaging 10.9 goals a game. They have scored more than 12 goals in a game twice all season.
I didn't know it was that bad. That's not good.
I'm sorry, 3 times. 3 times they have scored more than 12 in a game.
Still not good.
They are 2-1 in those games. It's like they get stuck when 11 goals comes around, because they have in their losses, these are the goal totals: 7, 10, 9, 11, 14, 11, 8. Those are their 7 losses. In their wins, 13, 16, 10, 11, and those are your wins. Like, this team is too talented to be stalling like this offensively. It's frustrating from just a pure knowing these guys as well as I do. Like, they are better than what they are putting out there. And I see it all the time on the social media posts for the Wings. I've been getting it in my mentions now when I'm just live tweeting the games. Everyone's saying fire Paul Day, fire Paul Day. It's like, number one, this team would not be where they are without Paul Day here. Number two, you want to fire Paul Day, who right now on the open market is going to step in and be better than what Paul Day does as a head coach and a GM. I'll tell you right now, there ain't nobody. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't think that's proper English, but it works.
The Philly Johns will understand that. Number three, the defense is playing just fine. The goalie play is just fine. It's the transition in the offense that has become this stuck in mud situation. Guys, there's also an offensive coach. And sometimes you got to look yourself in the mirror. And a couple weeks ago when the Wings lost, I forget what game it was, but Chad Tutton answered one question and one question only, and it was mine, thankfully. And he said they simplified the defense, made it a lot easier to comprehend. And look what the Wings have done on defense since. They're holding teams, I believe it was after the Halifax game. So since that Halifax game, Deej, the Wings have held opponents to 8 goals, 14, 9, and 9. Maybe the offense needs to get a little more simplified. Maybe it's a little too technical for what you're trying to accomplish with the talent you have on the roster.
That is definitely a possibility. Sometimes you do have to just dumb things down and go to the simplest of things because it's that simple. Like, we've kind of done that with our high school team, which granted is high school, but we simplified our plays down to movements. We just call out movements and they do the movement and they magically get open. Let's not have this complicated thing where all these people have to move to all these different spaces with this certain name. Let's just call out that movement. A couple people do it, see who's open. Same thing for our man up. We're probably just going to go to an open set and spin the ball as fast as possible. And when we got an open shot, take it. Like, sometimes going to the simplest matter of the sport shows you exactly what you have so you can then tailor your strategy around what you have at that current moment.
Because here's the thing for the Wings right now, as we go into week 16. They have a very winnable schedule down the stretch to where if a couple things go their way with teams in front of them in the standings, they could sneak into the playoffs. Because here's their schedule, dude. You tell me if I'm wrong. This week, they're on the road against Redacted. Next Saturday, they come home against Vancouver. Thursday, a little bit of a short week, but they have Saskatchewan coming into Philadelphia. Saturday, so even like it's going to be a tough stretch there. You got, Saturday, Thursday, Saturday. Buffalo comes in. And we all know Buffalo can play, but are they the Buffalo of the past couple years? Not exactly. Then the following Sunday, April 7th, you go on the road to Panther City. Then Friday, April 12th, you're at Colorado. Sunday, April 21st, you're at Rochester. That's their schedule the rest of the way. Road against Redacted, home against Vancouver, home against Saskatchewan, home against Buffalo, road against Panther City, Colorado, Rochester. At worst, on paper, maybe 2 losses.
On paper, yeah, but
that's a winnable and navigatable schedule. If you get your head out of your asses and play the offensive game you know you're capable of. Will they do that? That remains to be seen. That's why you play the games.
I agree. They're kind of in a Vancouver spot with me, but only on the offensive end, right? Like, I'm not trusting a lot that's going on in Vancouver because there's so much change and they're just trying to figure out what they have. But if you take a look at how they're playing the game, which I shout Kurt out immensely for this, they are playing as simple as possible. It allows him to truly look at what he has so he can start to put together the right pieces. If you're starting over from scratch, that's the best time to be simple. They're doing a great job at that. It's not putting out the winning products that they want, which every team wants to win, no matter where you are in your stage of being a program and an organization. Whether you're rebuilding and trying to get back to a certain, that doesn't matter. You want to win games, so they're not producing in that standard, but they get a lot of really good plays. They get fans coming out and supporting. They get some goals where they're like, okay, that really worked when we did X, Y, and Z for this guy. All of those things come from playing simple. The Wings got to look to do the same.
100% agree with you. We'll touch trade deadline here. It is come and gone. 4 moves have been made in terms of exchanges. While we're on the subject, the Philadelphia Wings traded Taggart Clark and a second-round selection in the 2024 entry draft to the New York Riptide in exchange for a first-round pick in the 2024 entry draft and a third-round pick in the 2025 entry draft. Here's the important thing, Deej. That 2024 entry draft pick is coming via Colorado. So right now, that pick is the number 2 overall pick in the draft that you just got for a player that you drafted 23rd overall. I saw a lot of people complaining, why are you trading the 23rd overall pick for a future pick, blah, blah, blah. Because you arguably may end up with a top 3 pick in the draft for that. And as much as I love Taggart Clark, I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's going to have a long NLL career. I think he's very talented. When a team comes knocking and offers you a potential top 3 pick in the entry draft this year and a third-round pick in 2025, you take that deal every day of the week. That's just being a good GM with your head on a swivel and saying, how can we make this team better? Paul Day has traded draft picks in the past to acquire some of these talented players like Mitch Jones, like Holden Katoni. You need to restock the shelves with some draft picks for some younger players to make sure this team is in a good position down the line. And you look at who's coming out in this draft to potentially have a top 3 pick, and right now a top 2 pick in this draft. That's amazing for a bubble playoff team right now. Like, as a GM, I'm doing that deal every single day of the week.
The piece about draft picks, I feel like with NLL, it's kind of harder for us in America to understand the true value of draft picks in terms of the NLL, because a lot of us are not as tied into the box, the junior leagues and the senior A's, and we're not as tied into that side of the lacrosse world as the Canadians are. So a lot of them understand the value in trading that 23rd pick guy that you got for the possible second, third, maybe even the number 1 overall pick, because it's going to be some good kid out of like Orangeville that we've never heard of down here. They know that guy, but we don't.
Right.
So it's that piece, I think, is the tricky part in a lot of the free agency moves that we see. Is Americans are looking at it from a, what do we see talent wise right now in this person? Why would you? And that's just a thing across all sports, really, is those first round draft picks are guys that are like supposed to be an it factor and help. So it's like, why are you giving that away, especially when you haven't had them that long? Sometimes it's advantageous because you have to take every season for what it is. As a high school coach, I get this more than anybody else, because no matter what, your team is not the same the following year.
Right.
No matter what. If you're coaching varsity, no matter what, because you have seniors that are graduating. They're not going to be back. You have freshmen coming in the next year that were not there the year before. Your team is never the same year by year. It's the same thing in the pros. So you're looking, okay, who here do I want for sure next year? Do I want to lock in? Who do I want to add to this? Who do I want to possibly look at? What does my draft look like? What are these, I forgot the word. Prospect. What do these prospects look like in the draft? And then you start to really piece it together. But the first thing that goes is what you currently have. So you look at trade, you look at free agency. That's where the first moves are made, because you got to have most of your roster kind of figured out by the time you go to the draft. Because if you don't, then you're just going in blind and adding whoever looks good, and they may not even fit into what you have. So
I think good names in this draft too. I'm looking at Swarm It Up has a list of like participants for this year's draft so far that could be draftable. The Accione brothers, I assume they're twins, Matt and Cam from Delaware. You have let's see some other names. Carter Bagley from Drexel, Jack Bowie from NJIT, Luca Anton Giovanni from North Carolina, David Anderson from Yale, Grant Brio from UMass, Taz Delaney, elite name, by the way. That's an all-name team right there from Towson. Trent DeChico from Ohio State, Sam English from Syracuse, Josh Fairley from Loyola, Liam Ferris from St. Joe's, Rory Graham from Cornell, Daniel Kelly from Maryland, Denton McDonald from Bellarmine, Patrick McIntosh from Virginia. Oh, yeah, and then this 6'2", 230-pound kid from Bayshore, New York named Brendan O'Neill.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he's in this draft. Because so many guys that he's playing with right now were in last year's draft. So
right.
I like oftentimes loop him into that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not right.
Jackson Raposo from Johns Hopkins. Like, there's a good crop of players that are going to be in this draft so far, and these are just the ones that are declared already and will be eligible. There's going to be other names added down the line, obviously, but in order to have a pick that high for a player that you just draft, like, you're capitalizing on good drafting. And that's what Paul Day just did by trading Tiger Clark. So I wish Tiger Clark nothing but the best. I think he's still going to be a fantastic player, but Paul Day did the right thing as a GM to take that trade. The next trade that occurred, well, the first trade that occurred was the Desert Dogs trading John Wagner and their 4th-round selection in the 2024 entry draft to Albany in exchange for Cam Baddour and their 1st-round pick in 2024. Deej, we were texting about this. You like this for Albany a lot. I think it's a good trade for Albany. I love this for Vegas, though.
Explain yourself.
I think Cam Baddour is a phenomenal prospect, already added to Vegas's active roster. Remove the practice player tag, so he is going to be there, and like, he is an elite prospect. And to get a 1st-round pick for a guy that has obviously been performing for you, but to capitalize on that to get an elite prospect and a 1st-round pick for a player is just good business. And for a team that is in year 2, that is trying to kind of find their identity and put together the puzzle of what they want that team to be, I think that's a great move for Vegas. And I'm not saying it's a bad move for Albany, because I think it's a smart move for Albany, but I love it for the long term for Vegas to have more draft capital, to build out a roster with elite young talent, and to add an elite young transition player in Cam Baddour.
I'm just very picky about trade deadlines, and the biggest thing is there's normally one during the season, one during the off season. I feel like the move that Vegas made is a off season move. Those are the kind of moves that you make in that off-season trade deadline period where you're more so moving pieces that you want for the like you're obtaining pieces you want for the future, giving up draft picks, that kind of thing. Whereas that's why I went with liking this more for Albany. This seems more of a, hey, Wagner's going to come in and help us solidify our spot in this unified standings and maybe push us over the ledge to be better than Toronto to go in for a championship. That's what I feel in-season moves are for. That in-season deadline is more for what can we do right now to help us immediately, help us in this season do and achieve XYZ goals. And then that off-season trade deadline is more for guys looking to move draft picks, get guys for the future. But obviously you're not wrong to do it at any point. But my mindset is if I'm not looking to be in the playoffs and win the title, if you're coming to me with an in-season trade, you better be selling me the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow because I'm not giving you anything to go and win.
Which is what I think Albany did. They gave up a first-round pick. They gave up an elite prospect to a Vegas team that's 4-8 right now, would finish third to last. And I think Vegas realizes that. They realize this is not a year that they're going to make the playoffs. So let's get an extended look at Campador, add him to our active roster, see how he fits our system, and allow him to get in the mix with the guys we know are going to be here moving forward. Add that draft pick to our arsenal of draft picks that we have already. And let's see how we can utilize this to reshape our team. And that's another player now that they don't have to use a draft pick on. They have Campador at that transition spot. Maybe that allows them to focus on things otherwise, like elsewhere in the draft or free agency now that they added a young prospect like that to the mix. I think it's a great trade for both teams. Long term, it's phenomenal for Vegas, and for the right now and the long term, because John Wagner's not old. It's good for Albany defensively as they have shored up their defense multiple trades so far because they traded for Anthony Joachim earlier in the year. Great trade for both teams, and it also allowed Vegas to place Marshall King on the active roster, which is awesome to see. Very excited to see him back. Obviously, he's been dealing with one of the most difficult times in his life. But I'm happy to see Marshall King on the active roster from the evaluation list for Vegas moving forward, because I think he's a guy that this Vegas team, as a leader in that locker room, it's a big time get back for this tail end of the season to have your guy back.
Oh yeah, that's the best time. You want to have your guys at the end of the season. That's when you want to be playing your best lacrosse and having the team full healthy. So, like I said just a moment ago, that's kind of the reason for these midseason moves, is to put yourself as your best team heading into the month of May.
Yeah, and I'm just happy to see Marshall back. Obviously, his fiance passing away, it's brutal, and I'm just happy that he's in a right frame of mind to say I'm ready to come back and play. So shout out to Marshall King. Very excited to see him back for Vegas. The Colorado Mammoth trade away friend of the program Paul Dawson and a third-round selection in the 2024 entry draft to Buffalo in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2024 entry draft and a second-round pick in the 2025 entry draft. Great pickup for Buffalo to add Big Paulie Dawson to that defense on the back end in front of Matt Vince. You get a guy who's not afraid to scrap for you and gives an older veteran an opportunity to potentially go out on a playoff run and have a shot at a championship if Buffalo, puts the pieces together here late in the year. And it gives Colorado draft capital, which they are going to need. And I think it's smart because this is a situation that we don't typically see Colorado in, being towards the bottom of the standings. So good on both sides to get a deal like this done. And then, was there any other trades? thought there was 4. Oh, yes, I'm dumb. Colorado Mammoth also traded Chris Wardle to San Diego for a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2025. The rich get richer. San Diego gets an absolute stud in Chris Wardle, and Colorado gets another draft pick in return. Bit of an active trade deadline, which was nice. Not, a lot of teams getting things done at the buzzer, but it was a good trade deadline nonetheless.
Yeah, everybody literally waited until the very last minute, which I didn't like, but at the same time, that is the excitement of trade deadlines that we get in any other sport. So keep it rolling. Do the same thing in the offseason one. I'm fine with sitting neck deep in my phone while I should be working to look at what's going to happen in the trade deadline. So yeah, keep it up, please.
So yeah, let us know in the comments section your winners and losers of the trade deadline. Let's quickly navigate through week 16 of the NLL that we have on deck this week. It all gets started on Friday as we have multiple games, 3 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday. Halifax hosting Panther City, 6:30 p.m. start time there in Halifax. That game's going to be absolutely raucous. I believe they've sold out the entire arena, which is crazy. Your Roughnecks hosting San Diego at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. I believe that is their St. Patrick's Day game as well, so the St. Patty's Day uniforms will be out. Vancouver hosts Las Vegas at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And then on Saturday, Albany hosting Rochester as part of a home-and-home back-to-back weekend. Buffalo hosts Toronto at 7 p.m. Redacted hosts Philadelphia at 7:30 p.m. And then 9:30 p.m., Saskatchewan hosts New York.
My favorite game of the week is not the one that you think it's going to be. I'm actually terrified. I guess I'll just start with that. I am terrified for this game. Just going to be honest. I am absolutely terrified. I think this is make or break week for my Roughnecks. If they lose this game, I don't feel comfortable that they'll make the playoffs. It's going to be very much an uphill battle because you're facing some of the toughest competition coming up after this week, starting with San Diego. That's already a tough game in its own. And then you're moving on to play some other tough competition within this time frame as well. But on the flip side of that, if my Roughnecks come out with a win, we're cruising. Beating a team like San Diego gives you the power and the mindset to believe that you can beat absolutely anybody. They're nothing short of the Avengers. Like when you look at them line up across from you, you're like, wow, they have this guy and 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 this guy. And it literally just never stops. And you just keep running through your fingers and you're like, okay, I don't have enough fingers for how many guys they have over there. So when you beat a team like that, you feel like you can go and beat any team and it almost revitalizes your season. So this is a huge week for the Roughnecks. They come out on top. I like our chances to go on a little run and maybe squeeze in somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. We drop this one. I don't feel confident that we even scoot up to the 8 seed. So a huge game for me this weekend. Obviously, Toronto Buffalo is going to be a matchup because it always is. Philadelphia definitely going to be a matchup because it always is. And then, like I told you pre-pod, sneaky game of the week is that Friday possibly completely sold out Panther City Halifax game. I think that game is going to be amazing. It's almost never the first game is almost never game of the week because it seems like everybody else watches that game and then decides to be so much better than they are. But I don't know if that can happen this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Halifax, Panther City, Rochester, Albany, and the rematch there is going to be a lot of fun. And I was telling you too, could be, emphasis on could, New York at Saskatchewan could be a lot of fun in the nightcap on Saturday. And then obviously I will be locked and dialed to Philadelphia at Redacted for many a reason. But I think without any further ado, Deej, let's head on over to the Pick Pond and dish out our Week 16 NLL Beer Money Picks of the Week, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, only 120 calories, and 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and New Jersey areas. You can also get it at your local liquor store in those markets. Celebrate St. Patty's Day with an old-fashioned Kenny. Check out their storefront as well. Kelly Green merch, the pint glasses, the apparel. It's all amazing. KenwoodBeer.com. Got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, we start in Halifax at the Nest as the Thunderbirds host Panther City, a purple people eater showdown.
Don't ever say that to me again. But there's no way the T-Birds don't defend the Nest.
I like that. I'm with you. With a sold-out crowd like that, I think it's going to be absolutely rocking. Give me Halifax to get the dub. San Diego at your Roughnecks on the teal turf. How you feeling, Deej? How you feeling?
Can't believe you make me pick this game first. You know, trends. I don't think Calgary has. I think Calgary's only beaten San Diego once, and maybe not at all, since Dane Dobie left. And then Curtis Dixon left last year and did not make things better in that category. But I think they snuck one away from them last year.
Yeah, I think Calgary's definitely gotten at least one.
I think they snuck one away from them last year. Not trusting them to do it again. I love you, Roughnecks. And I will be cheering for you on Friday. I will be cheering for you. And if you win, I'll be ecstatic. And I'll be tweeting about it. But I do think San Diego takes care of this one.
I am also going with trends. And since they've done the deed, San Diego is 3-1 in games since following the pod on the tweet machine. They replied with the eye emoji. They see what they have done. I got to go with San Diego and follow the trends there. Which brings us to the nightcap on Friday. Vegas at Vancouver. I'll tell you right now, I am taking the Vegas Desert Dogs in this one simply because I am excited about the addition of Campador. And I think they're frisky, and I think they're hungry for a win. I think they know what they're capable of doing, and I am going to take the Desert Dogs to get a dub at home. I'm sorry, on the road. Road win for the Dogs.
I agree, but that it goes back to the point of don't look at this like a throwaway season, but Vancouver's literally just figuring out a lot. And Vegas is really kind of coming off of some bad energy the last couple of weeks in terms of missing out in a couple close losses that they could have won, and also just kind of some teams picking them apart. So I think they're looking at this as a chance to get back on the positive side of things, and it's going to take advantage of that.
So we both have Vegas there. Moving to Saturday, Rochester at Albany. Last week, Rochester wins 18-12. This time it's in Albany. Dougie Jameson, in my opinion, will be starting. But I can't deny Rochester's offense has been absolutely incredible. They'll also be shooting on Doug Jameson in this one, though. You got a solidified defense with John Wagner in the mix now as well. I think this game is going to be close, much closer than 18-12, but I'm going to ride with Albany.
I am going to take Albany as well because it's hard to beat a team twice, especially twice in a row. Teams don't really forget that quickly, and to be able to get a chance to turn around the following week and get that revenge so you don't have to kind of not overlook another team and wanting to get them back. It's right here, right now, and I think Albany takes advantage of that.
Moving to the other 7 o'clock game, Toronto at Buffalo. Speaking of trends, I think it's tough to go against the team that is 11-2 this season, but I do want to check one thing because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, one of Toronto's losses came at the hands of Buffalo this year. Could be wrong on this. I'm checking right now, so everyone listening, don't yell at me.
I can't remember, so I'm not going to.
I am checking their schedule as we speak. Toronto, yes, January 27th. These two teams played. Buffalo won 16-14 in Toronto. I think Toronto's got to get their lick back and get a win on the road against the team that beat them at home. So I'm willing to take Toronto to get a dub.
I said it already. Hard to do it 2 times as well.
Moving to 7:30, Philadelphia at Redacted. We already know the final score is going to be like 11-10 or 10-9 or 9-8 or something like that. Y'all already know. I'm going to go with the Wings based on the fact that this team needs to win this. This is a must-win game for them to keep their season alive. These two teams always play each other close. Philadelphia, you want to talk about trends, they play very well down in Duluth. So give me Philly to get a win over Redacted. Also, talked to Paul Day after the game on Sunday. Talked about how he would love to get Jack Jasinski in the lineup a lot more. Trade Taggart Clark. Guess who got added to the active roster this week, Deej? JJ Fitty on the active roster.
JJ Fitty is crazy, bro. That's crazy. And you know what else is crazier? You thinking I'm finna choose against LT4 and Dauber. Give me. They're at home against y'all. One thing they like doing is beating the Wings at home. And yeah, last time I couldn't talk no trash when Calgary and the Wings were playing. I ended up being busy. You know when I'm not gonna be busy? Saturday, March 16th at 7:30 p.m. I'll already be back from the Notre Dame Michigan game, which newsflash, I'll be there. I'll touch on that later. Yeah, I'm on that, and I don't think you're gonna be busy either. So you probably
it's the one day I'm not gonna be busy.
Yeah, you probably gonna block me because I'm on that. Me and LT4 are gonna have a party by $1 billion. And by $1 billion, I mean 1 point.
Yeah, I was gonna say trends. Speaking of trends,
neither one of these teams is able to beat the other one by more than 1 point.
Final game of the weekend: New York at Saskatchewan at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. This one's tough to pick just because Saskatchewan's such a wild card. But going on trends, New York's playing very well right now, even though they are 6-7. They're beating teams they're supposed to. This is a team they should beat. I'm going to go with the Riptide.
I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet with this franchise and the move and everything that's going on there and how I feel about that as a partial fan. I have a weird feeling they're going to move into the West, which means I will not be able to cheer for them.
There's no West.
You know what I mean.
It's unified.
Like, it's just going to be too close to Calgary, so I'm just not going to be able to do it. I'm thinking on it. I'm figuring it out. But what I'm not thinking about and what I do have figured out is that the Riptide will win this game, even though I do want to stick with the trend of Saskatchewan, even though they lost last week. I think New York's got it.
Well, I love to inform you, Deej. Ottawa's East Coast. Ottawa's closer to Toronto than it is to Calgary.
Okay, we might be on to something here. I'll reconvene and let everybody know.
Ottawa's closer to the state of Vermont than it is to Toronto.
That might be a little far. I might just make Toronto my new East team. Toronto's close. I can go to one of those.
I'm pulling up a Google map here. So did you say you're going with New York as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there are your picks of the week. We both have Halifax. We both have San Diego. We both have Vegas. Both have Albany. Both have Toronto. I'm going Philly. Deej is going Redacted. And we both have New York. And those are our NLL Week 16 picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer. I'm pulling up Ottawa. Toronto's closer to you in terms of Michigan, but Ottawa's like right outside Montreal.
Okay.
And a hop, skip, and a jump from Vermont. Like, it's not that far of a relocation from New York to Ottawa. But
we'll figure it out.
But yeah, way farther away than Calgary.
Facts.
Calgary is...
I got to hop on a plane to get there, but I'm going to get there.
Closer to Vancouver than it is to everything else. But PLL Free Agency, Deej, it is brought to you by our PLL app code.
Do they like black people in Calgary?
That's the episode.
Bro, these are legitimate questions that have to be asked.
Good grief.
I got to prepare myself for whatever I could possibly be going into.
Well, we're going to go into PLL Free Agency, and it's brought to you by our PLL app code. Download the PLL app. Deej and I use that thing expeditiously and every single day to keep up with the league, keep up with teams, players, free agency, the whole 9 yards. Download the app, go to the redeem code section in the app, type in OTBPOD, OTB pod for 500 XP in the PLL app. Keep using that code because the more it gets used, the more the PLL is going to see it and the more cool and dope stuff we're going to be able to do with the PLL app, hopefully in the future. But download the PLL app, go to the redeem code section, and use code OTBPOD for 500 XP in the PLL app. Free agency continues, Deej. KJ47 has re-signed with Chaos. Pulling up the free agency tracker here. Not as much noise this week that we had last week in terms of news, but some other news that has gone down since we last recorded. The Redwoods tapping into the NLL, tapping into some of our guys. Alex Simmons signs with the Redwoods. Ron John signs with the Redwoods. I love both of those moves for Nat and John Grant Jr. to have those guys in the mix. I think it's really smart. I think it's the move in the right direction that we think the Redwoods should be going in, getting younger, getting talent that fits their system. And I think those two guys are extremely talented and are going to help the Redwoods in a major way.
Ron John just adds to that idea of bringing in guys like Zach Currier to the PLL, guys who are two-way midfielders and are going to be able to play both sides, help you out, and stretch the game with this shortened field. He's a guy who can go out and lock up one of your best offensive guys with a short stick and then leak out in push transition. And if you aren't going to step up, he'll bury it. Those are the kind of guys you need on your defensive unit as short stick D mids if you want to be successful in the PLL. We see it across every team in the PLL. If your D mids can't force the issue in transition while also being very good on the defensive end, you're going to struggle. As far as Alex Simmons, I think he is the phenomenal and almost the perfect replacement, big air quotes there, because you can't really replace Jules, but he's the next best thing. Small, quick, has decent size still to him, can get in under guys, very good with both hands, and can push the issue from the midfield, or you can put him down at attack and he can beat a pole. That's what you want. If you're going to let go of that, you have to bring in something very similar, if not better. I think Alex Simmons is that.
They also re-signed Ryan Lee through 2024. Obviously, his biggest thing has been health. But if he can stay healthy, him and a John Grant Jr. offense is obviously proven to be successful in the past. I love that move for the Redwoods, and obviously we're still waiting to see when and if they re-sign Ryder Garnsey, because that is, I think, the last like big domino that still has to fall in free agency. But Ryan Lee back with the Redwoods on a 1-year deal. A couple retirements from the Atlas. Jack Kincannon hangs it up, calls it a career after spending his entire PLL career with Atlas and 1 year with the Florida Launch for his rookie season of pro field lacrosse. And Tucker Durkin also calls it a career, spending his entire PLL career with Atlas. Some big shoes to fill. And I know Jack Kincannon had his struggles, but from the social media outpouring of how beloved he was in that Atlas locker room and just as a player in general, that's some big shoes to fill in that locker room, along with losing your team captain in Tucker Durkin. So Atlas have some leadership roles to fill, and I'm sure they will, but two big subtractions there for Atlas this offseason.
Who'd you say? Because I ain't hearing none of that.
Yeah, you just went real 144p on me.
No, you went 144p on me.
You are still 144p on me.
It's your internet. Yours is the one.
Mine is fine. Mine is not doing anything.
We just had this conversation before the pod started about how bad your internet was. Don't do this to me.
Mine is not showing any drop off.
Hold on. Let me tell you, I am in a building that has millions of dollars worth of equipment. You mean to tell me my internet don't work here? Stop it.
Well, you are in a room that is kind of isolated.
Bro, I'm on Ethernet. It's wired in. It's not me. It's you. It's okay.
I'm on Ethernet too.
It's you. Your Ethernet ain't as good as mine. We know this.
Hold on. I'm going to tap in via laptop and see how it looks on the screen. Because you're still pixelated.
I'm telling you, that's you, because you're not pixelated on my side. I'm not either.
Let's see how it looks here. Yeah, laptop-wise, I'm on the screen, and your screen is black.
Bro, that's your Wi-Fi.
I'm going to pause here.
No, you went and unplugged your modem. And
I did not do a damn thing.
All good, bro. It's all good. All good. I'm not saying nothing. We Gucci.
But anywho, back to your regularly scheduled PLL free agency segment brought to you by our PLL app code. I said Jack Kincannon and Tucker Durkin retired, and Jack had his struggles, obviously, but from the outpouring of love that he got on social media, you could tell like he was a leader in that locker room. And obviously Tucker was the team captain every single year that he was on Atlas. So he's a definitive leader, and it's just going to be tough to fill those shoes for Atlas. I'm sure they'll find guys, but those are big shoes to fill for both of those guys stepping away.
I'll be nice. I agree. They both really have huge footsteps. I think Tucker's are a little bit bigger. Being a captain, being the guy that he is, and the winning ways that he brought to Atlas, and even the respect he has from like Paul and certain guys that are kind of higher in the ranks of lacrosse. He's the cream of the crop, a guy that a lot of guys look up to and try and emulate. So those are huge footsteps to fill. But I kind of think they already have the guy for that. I think Rex Rode is an amazing guy to kind of step in and take that place, at least on the defensive side. He may not do it so much as a whole team thing. You still have Eric Law there who could do a great job at doing that until you find your next guy, since he's probably got 2-3 years left maybe in what he wants to do. So there's some pieces
TB
there.
still there too.
Right, Trevor. But like, there's some pieces that you can work with and go with right up the cusp. But those would definitely be huge footsteps to fill. We already saw that they went out and got Timmy T, so he kind of knows what he's got to do. And Drake Porter's still there, and they may even draft another guy. So I think the goalie situation is a little more figured out and is in a space to move forward than replacing not only the defensive skill of Tucker Durkin, but his prowess and presence in the field and locker room is a bigger deal.
Yeah, I loved everyone's posts about Jack on social. Always included hashtag sicko and the crown emoji. He's the sicko king. Like you don't just get given that, you earn that title. So shout out to both of those guys. Awesome careers. And it's rare. I've been talking about this a ton with some of the Eagles retiring. That it's rare you see guys spend an entire career in one uniform, and to see both of those guys spend their entire PLL careers in one uniform is super cool. So shout out to both of them, and best of luck in their next endeavors. Like I mentioned, KJ re-signs with Chaos. The Archers have extended our guy since last Champ Series. We dubbed him hashtag our guy. And guess what, Deej? He followed your boy on the tweet machine, our guy Cole Williams, extended by the Archers.
He followed you?
Followed the boy.
I might need to get a little more active on Twitter, man.
I'm telling you, bro.
I just be busy, bro. I'm putting in the work, y'all.
I just be getting these tweets off.
So much of my time is put into lacrosse, but just not on the web. So I'll work on that. I'll get up there.
Our guys for the Water Dogs, Jack Hanna and Ethan Walker, both extended through 2026. As interim GM Andy Copeland keeps putting in the work to get this core signed up long term, and it's 3 out of the 5 guys that I mentioned that probably had extensions coming. Only 2 more to go. 2 more to go, and I would be shocked if these 2 guys don't get them. But Ben Randall, Kieran McCardle up next.
The thing with Kieran is, as he has kids and he grows older and he's teaching, those things start to...
Well, no longer teaching because he moved to South Carolina.
Okay. Those kind of things are things to keep in mind. So I think he gets an extension. I'm just not sure how long. Some of these guys got some long extensions. I'm not sure that Kieran's is as long as theirs, but I do think he gets...
I could see him getting the Ryan Conrad through 2025 and then playing it out and seeing where he is, personally. But I do think Ben Randall gets a 2026 type treatment as well. The longest extension we have seen in the PLL, a 4-year extension, Deej, through 2027. The man, the myth, the legend, Brett Dobson, gets extended by the Archers through 2027. And then the other news that I kind of broke to the people, it was sent out through a release, but I think I was the first one to put it out there, not to toot my own horn, but the PLL made a free agent move as they have hired an icon, Joel White, as head of player personnel. White will serve as the players' liaison to the PLL front office. Kind of seems like I'm trying to think of like the position wise what it feels like in another sport. To an extent, like DeMaurice Smith with the NFL. Not as like contentious though, where like you have owners and a commissioner and everything, but he's also not specifically like the head of like the PLL Players Association because there isn't one, but it feels kind of like that role where like Joel White is going to go back and forth between the players and the front office and be like that guy. I love the hire. I think it's a smart move and a smart role to add to the league. And from the release, it feels like he's going to be working very closely with Rachel DeCecco. I love this. I think it's such a smart move, and Joel White has relationships, obviously, with Paul and Mike from his time on Team USA and playing in the league. And I think this is a great move for the league to just continue to build out and be that much more credible from a behind-the-scenes and front office point of view.
I also think this is another one of those moves that goes to like the player-driven league. You know, this is a league that's player and fan-driven. And this is another one of those things where he's going to be a middleman kind of between the front office and the players, a liaison, somebody they can go to and say, hey, we got this. Hey, we'd like that. Hey, what can I do about this? While also finding ways to continue to put them out in front of the world, get them social media, pump up and all those kind of things, while also helping to improve. Wow, it's hard for me to find words today. Improve the on-field product as well as the off-field product. I think he's a great move for that as somebody who kind of understands both pieces.
Yeah, I'm excited about the move. I think it's super smart to just continue building out the league front office wise and continuing to have that open line of communication with the players and keeping things as transparent as possible. And Joel White is a legend of the game. He's not far removed from playing as well. So a lot of the players that are still in the league played with and against Joel White. So they know him, they respect him, and I think he's the perfect fit for the role.
Couldn't find a better guy, honestly, at least for right now. I'm sure something in the future will come, but at the current moment,
as the first guy to do it, I'll take that every day of the week.
Great start.
Also working to get Joel White and Rachel DeCecco on the show. So hopefully in the coming weeks that will occur. But that's pretty much everything PLL free agency wise. Let's move to our college recap, Deej, with Portal Jones, brought to you by Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. From sunglasses to blue light glasses to prescription lenses, they've got you covered. And man, let me tell you, download that Tomahawk Shades app because it is such a friendly user interface to navigate through, to shop, and scroll through everything that Tomahawk Shades has to offer. Their semi-annual sale is going on right now, so you can get up to 85% off. That's crazy. That's damn near free with the semi-annual sale going on. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store, Google Play Store. When you go to checkout, you want to use the semi-annual sale code and save up to 85% off on your order. It's code SEMI24. And year-round, you can use our code USP for 25% off your order. An amazing way to support a small business in Tomahawk Shades who's been rocking with us for like 4 years now. They got on board with us around this time in 2020 and have not looked back. So shout out to Tomahawk Shades for rocking with the boys as long as they have. That's tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app. Use code SEMI24 to get in on the semi-annual sale and code USP for 25% off year-round, 365, and this year, 366 days of the year. College is here, Deej, and one thing I wanted to point out before you get into the mix here, we gotta schedule a guest as well. My man Jordan Johnson reached out. I gotta DM him back, but we'll figure it out. He's obviously working with the next collegiate league. And did you see the announcement that the women's game will be wearing full pads, playing sixes?
Marcus. Marcus Holman, Will Manny. I hope you two are watching. Those are two guys that I've seen talk about the women wearing gear and being able to hit each other and kind of going to a more traditional men's look. Hopefully they're going to be watching this. I kind of want to see what their expectations and commentary is on this. But I'm super excited for this. I think this is kind of one of the first steps to us seeing the games possibly fuse and become a little more alike. I think that's another barrier in lacrosse growing, not only for males, but for females as well. Like something that's really easy and nice about basketball is there's somewhat some comparison between the two genders because they play the exact same sport. There's nothing different about their two sports. You see it with soccer, you see it with swimming, with track and field. We're not really able to do that in lacrosse because they are so different. So I like the piece of this. I wish it was kind of more of a traditional like 10v10, but I think sixes is a good start. I think we're going to see some big hits. I think we're going to see some crazy goals. And it's just going to start a new conversation that, not start a new conversation, add to a conversation that's been going on for quite some time now.
And got elevated from the Women's Unleashed All-Star game. That was easily one of the most entertaining games overall that I've ever watched in person of the sport. So fun, so fast. The play was elite, and I think it's only going to add to that, progression of getting the two sports more in line with one another. Jordan reached out, and I gotta get back to him to figure out a day for us to sit down and record with him, but we're definitely going to do that for sure. So shout out to him for reaching out and giving us the heads up there. And it's been getting talked about, and I think it's super cool for the sport as a whole. But moving to the college game, Deej, Portal Jones going to be boots on the ground once again, heading to watch your Michigan boys who are getting a bit of heat from the homies on the timeline.
I was finna flame them boys up myself. I almost turned the game off. For real. I almost just turned, because I'm like, what is you know what? That was the problem. Homies. I don't care if you cheer for Maryland, Johns Hopkins, Rutgers, Ohio State, or Penn State. If you watch Big Ten lacrosse, we need to get on the timeline on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere possible, right into the schools. We need to do something about Big Ten Plus. That shit's fucking trash. I'm not paying for it, and that's the reason why I couldn't watch Michigan, and that's the real reason they lost. Michigan hasn't lost a game, other than the Virginia one, that I've watched this year. It's me. I couldn't watch Sunday.
He's the problem. It's him.
Couldn't watch Sunday, and they lost. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But in all actuality, I was finna flame them up too because the first half was god awful. God awful. Please come out better this weekend. If you win, I'm probably gonna get beat up in the parking lot. So I'm gonna be going bonkers. If you lose, I'm gonna be like, hey, I saw a really great game today. My favorite team lost, but it is what it is. Notre Dame's great. I'll walk away happy either way, but I'll be over the roof and probably trying to find the nearest security guard if you happen to win. So just keep that in mind. Looking at last week, Army West Point, number one team in the country, is continuing to roll. They win by 10 over Holy Cross. Jacksonville escaped with a 1-point victory over High Point. So that conference is going to be fun again to watch this year. Maryland is the weirdest team in the country. Weirdest team in the country. They didn't play this well against Notre Dame last week. But then, they didn't play that well against Notre Dame last week. Then they go out and almost lose by 1 to Brown. But they were just the number 3 team in the country and beat Hop. Like, it's weird how they're putting out right now. I think Michigan has a chance again to stun them in the Big Ten, and they're going to be a team that everybody wants to keep an eye on in conference play. Notre Dame took care of Ohio State, easy schmeezy. Let's talk about the biggest surprise of the weekend. Penn State absolutely demolishing Cornell. Cornell didn't even look like they deserved to be a Division I lacrosse team. Not because they didn't have the talent, but because they literally got ran off the field by Penn State. 20-9? Nah, bruh. Cornell's so much better than that. They just didn't show up and didn't show out. The Providence Stony Brook game was also really good, 13-12. Virginia escapes by 4 against Townsend, 19-15. Hughes wins an amazing game at the Crown over Johns Hopkins. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, get on ESPN Plus and rewatch the replay because, my God, was that a game. That is one you want to check out. Penn wins things in the Philly showdown with Nova 11-8. Delaware continues to roll. NJIT, the people's champ, is still undefeated with another big win over Lindenwood 18-5. North Carolina rolls over Hofstra 21-9. Vermont escapes narrowly over UMass by 1. Duke took care of Loyola Maryland by 6. Albany handles things over Hobart. I'm really excited for the Hobart-Syracuse game this year as well. So that's one we'll keep an eye out for. Wagner over Marist by 1, and then Colgate bounces back and beats Lafayette by 6. That wraps things up for Saturday. Sunday, obviously, Michigan loses by 2 in their comeback effort to Harvard. Princeton took care of Rutgers in the battle for New Jersey. So now the only thing that we have to find out is NJIT better than either one of them? We won't know because they won't play either one this year. But NJIT is New Jersey's team. Isn't that right? He's like, yeah, I can get behind that.
I'd say so. They're balling. They got some studs on that team, man.
Yale takes down a number 1 team. The former number 1 team in Denver on the road by 2. That was actually a phenomenal game as well. That's one worth going back to look at. Lemoyne grabs a win over Mercer 10-6. And then, of course, St. Joe grabbing a win this year and taking care of some Philly business over Drexel 15-6. There was some action Tuesday, like Detroit Mercy only dropping by 6 to Ohio State. That's solid. Did you happen to see
Newbie's an absolute sicko for betting on that game, by the way.
Oh, I don't blame him for betting on that game. I would have bet on that game too. I wonder if he bet on the High Point Hampton game.
I'm not sure, but I know he tweeted like before he was like something about betting on the Ohio State Detroit Mercy game, and then he quote tweeted with the box score. I was like, "You're a sicko,
dude." The High Point game, it was a 19-point spread. A 19-point spread. And not only did they lose by more than 19, they covered the over in this game too. The 27-5, High Point absolutely demolishing Hampton. That wraps things up for Tuesday. Not much going there. Duke absolutely put it on Providence yesterday, 21-6.
Newbie tweeted on Sunday, if you think Cena was the wildest thing of the week, just wait until we're betting Detroit Mercy at Ohio State tomorrow at Bet on Lacrosse. And then quote tweeted it with the box score and said, I mean, I gave you the script on Monday.
That's wild. As you guys are listening to this, you preparing or have already watched Johns Hopkins put it on Navy as they get things rolling for the weekend on Friday. Saturday, Army and Lehigh are going to battle. Lehigh just beat Navy by 2 last weekend, so that's something to keep an eye on. Delaware is going to take on Hughes. Townsend and Drexel will battle. Duke plays that game against Richmond. Richmond's always one of those teams you got to look out for, making a splash. Getting some conference action between Robert Morris and Jacksonville. Cornell and Princeton getting into it as well with the conference battle. Utah and Bellarmine opening up conference play. NJIT taking on the Catamounts. Mickey, we'll be hitting you up on the timeline, seeing if your Catamounts can take down the Highlanders and the hottest team in lacrosse right now? Question mark. Jack. Wow, what's that man's name? Rowlett. Wow, I definitely know your name. Don't beat me up. Jack Rowlett and the Terriers defense will be taking on Loyola Maryland. Brown and Penn, Harvard, Yale, getting things going in the Ivy League action. Virginia, Maryland, obviously a big game Saturday. Rutgers, UMass will be fun. Penn State, Marquette, and then of course Michigan, Notre Dame, which I'll be at Saturday, 2 p.m. in South Bend. If you'll be there and you see me, say what's up. Denver's traveling. Do I dare do back-to-back boots on the ground at Ohio State and Columbus? Do I just get a hotel room and stay overnight?
Hit up Coach.
Nick, I might hit you up. The Pios are going to come into town and take on The Buckeyes in Columbus. Tuesday, Albany and Virginia are going to go to battle. Another Philly battle between St. Joe and Penn. All those teams over there. Tired of it. I'm tired of it. It's over. The Philly battle is over. It's done. We don't care. Nova takes on Navy as well. And Wednesday, excuse me, I didn't know we were getting this. I'm mad because I'm going to be coaching on Wednesday as well. So first off, preface that first game of the KU season is March 20th, 7 p.m., Kennewick Hills High School. Looking to get a dub in that. We'll see what happens.
It's also the day of the Japan exhibitions.
Day of the Japan exhibitions. Probably going to miss those. And I'm going to miss Duke and Syracuse because they're playing on Wednesday. And Air Force and Utah are playing on Wednesday. So this is a star-studded week. If you got time to watch some lacrosse, do so. If not, better be looking at ESPN Plus because those replays will 1,000% be worth the 2 hours. And it won't even be 2 hours because you can skip all your commercials and all the breaks at the end of quarters and halftime. So
also shout out to my dog, Joey Spallina. Absolute beast. Scrapping it up when someone kicked his stick.
I mean, I would have done the same thing.
Facts.
That's
my
lady.
On business.
That's my mistress. That's what I'm gonna tell my wife when I get one day. Like, look, it's me and you, but this is my baby right here.
It's like Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's exactly what it's like. That is exactly what it's like.
Yeah, we're working on getting Joey on the pod too, by the way.
I'm down for that.
Because he's a dog, he's a listener of the pod, as is Pops. Shout out. We're working on getting Pops on the show too.
Especially if he becomes coach of the Water Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's in the mix, but there's been some math that's mathing, I would say, that Tony Resch makes a lot of sense as well.
I agree.
I loved Hutton's tweet. Tony Resch, head coach Tucker Durkin, assistant or defensive coordinator, who says no. And I was like, well, depending on why Tucker retired, maybe Tucker Durkin says no. But I mean, I would like to see it.
And I mean, why not just ask Brody to do it? He's already applying for the head coaching job. Not that Tucker wouldn't be a great defensive coordinator and be able to whip a defense into shape, but
I think that all just stems that Tucker lives in Philly. He's coaching at Drexel.
Mm-hmm. That's probably the main reason why he's done.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the guys that we see coaching at the D1 level have dropped out of playing because the summer is your best time to recruit. You got to get out in the field. You got to prepare for the next season. If you're spending that time doing PLL, you're not putting your all into your program.
Connor Busick retired.
Yep. So I totally get that stance point.
Oh, Deej is moving in slow motion for me. I'll clip this so I can prove to him that he was moving in slow motion, not me.
But you were just moving in slow motion on mine.
I'll show you.
But what I'm saying is I'm moving in slow motion on your side, but you're moving in slow motion on my side. So that makes me think it's you.
I'm perfectly fine.
Right. I'm perfectly fine on my side, but apparently on your side, I'm moving slow. You're perfectly fine on your side, but on my side, you're moving slow. So I don't know who's actually wrong here.
Well, at the 153 mark, I will clip it and send it to you so we can see who was actually moving the slowest.
No.
No, because it would. Because the file is just StreamYard, however it's being recorded. It doesn't matter who's.
Fine. There.
They are the Joel White to us. What? StreamYard is the liaison.
You know the cool thing though? You know the cool thing? This ain't really mine. So I get to just pass it off and let somebody else deal with that. If it is you, have fun.
Hey.
On the phone with Xfinity doing all that stuff you've been doing for the last checks watch 2.5 years since I met you.
It's been longer than that.
No, it is not.
No, I mean, it's been longer than just the 2.5 years.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on. I ain't math hard, but I ain't that stupid. We just met 2021.
That is all we've got for you guys on this episode. Make sure you're following us on the socials at Underground PHI and at OTB LaxPod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/OTB LaxPod. Let's get to 100 followers before next week's episode on Facebook. Let's make that happen. Of course, follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_next. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. It really does help the show continue to grow, helps more people find OTB, helps us do more dope stuff with and for you guys. We're planning a lot for the summer. So the more you subscribe, the cooler the summer will get. Plus, Deej, they just announced throwback weekends at Fairfield, and guess who said they're down to go to throwback weekend this year?
CFO?
The CFO Margie.
Uh-oh.
And also, I've been talking with the fellas. We might have a boys' weekend at throwback weekend in Fairfield. Stevie Mack is down and said down to split hotel cost, and Patty Pitts also down to come and split hotel cost. We might have our whack pack on deck.
If you want to have my location to make sure I'm safe, hit me up in my DM and we'll organize that, because the four of us together, I don't think is permitted.
Well, it's going to be going down on Sunday with our Selection Sunday live stream as well on the YouTube channel, so you'll get a taste. You'll get a taste.
That's a little different, though, because that's electronically, digitally, virtually. We're not all in the same space.
Right, but those two will also be blitzed out of their minds, which will be what it would be like with them sober in person.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not in danger when I'm here.
We've also had Stevie Mack with us at a weekend.
Right.
And we had Pitts at a weekend.
Not together. That changes things.
At Fairfield, though.
A lot.
Fairfield.
Which is already a small and intimate place.
An amazing place.
Not that that's bad. I like Fairfield a lot.
I'm excited that we're finally going to get to see the throwbacks in person.
And I just hope it's not as hot as it was 2022.
Last year wasn't bad.
2022 was ridiculous.
Yeah. Last year was not bad. And we had a table.
Nice. I couldn't make it out last year. I think I was coaching.
Yeah. But Fairfield throwback weekend, very excited.
Mm-hmm.
But follow us, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. It's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show on our network, live streams, shorts, clips, original video content. It's our Selection Sunday live stream location. So tune into that. Myself, DJ, Stephen McAvoy, Pat Pitts, breaking down Selection Sunday. Join our March Madness bracket challenge. It'll be linked in the description. We want this to be the biggest bracket challenge possible. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Everybody. We want like hundreds and hundreds of people in our bracket challenge. So go join our bracket challenge. Subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTB LaxPod. Maybe by next week, let's get to like 25 subscribers. I think that's doable. We're at 12 right now, 13 more. Let's get to 25 subscribers on the OTB YouTube. Get your merch, phiapparel.co, code underground, 10% off your orders. Next week, we'll talk about the Japan scrimmages. We'll talk college. We'll talk NLL, any PLL news that comes across the board. And hopefully we'll have JJ, Jordan Johnson, talking about the NCL stuff with us once we get that all situated. But this has been episode number 314 on 314 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast. Long one, but we had a lot to talk about. Official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy this weekend of lacrosse, and we'll see you guys next week. But until then, getting the heck up out of here. Peace.
Peace.